Good. So as usual, there will be some of the topic that we are going to talk about that's a little bit forward-looking. So safe harbor applies. Have you read it? I assume all of you have read it already, right? After lunch, you're very alert now. So let me do a little bit of introduction. So Maurice joins us, so leads the Workday's Office of CFO, Asia Pacific and Japan. And she joins with Workday with about close to a year ago, and coming with 30 years of experience, mainly in the professional services. And in the last 10 years, she's been helping clients in terms of solving a lot of complex finance issues and problems, as well as in the last 10 years, finance transformation. And for Tim joins us all the way from London. I hope your jet lag is...
My jet lag's fine.
It's fine, right? I think you're about to
10 minutes,
up. You're about to wake
I'll
up.
fall over.
Okay. So Tim joins us from the UK, and she leads our finance product solutions innovation. Right, so prior to that, again, coincidentally, 30 years of experience, with 6 years with Workday, and 8 years with Cushman & Wakefield, who is also a customer of Workday. And in Cushman & Wakefield, he was the UK CFO as well as the international partner, who actually leads the implementation. So Tim has certainly lived through an implementation with Workday in Cushman & Wakefield. So please feel free to speak to Tim later on. So actually, among the three of us, we have 90 years of experience combined.
Li Dong, you're giving away our age, my friend. Yeah. Not a good thing, right?
Good. So now, before we start, let's just take a step back. I think this morning we have all seen from Paul's slide, right? Lots of things have happened in the last 3 years especially. The pandemic, supply chain disruption, and then we have got then this whole hybrid working that people now realize that you can actually work from home. Isn't that nice? And of course, apart from that, there are other disruption, right? There's war, there's also political tension, and now also the last 3 years we have seen tremendous acceleration in terms of digital transformation. And we will not end the whole conversation will not be complete without a talk about AI and machine learning. So we're going to talk about all this. And of course, what is the implication to CFO and finance leaders sitting here? All this has resulted in higher interest rate, inflation that we're facing. How is it going to impact our P&L? How do we manage our cash flow? So all these news snippets are just taken from, you can just go into Straits Times, Business Times, or Financial Times. Any day, you pick up some of this. And you have got climate as well, climate issues, and AI machine learning. So why is it going to impact us? So I'm going to let you do some work here. Before we continue from here, knowing the macro environment that we're working in, I'll invite you to scan this QR code. Hopefully you can see it. We're going to do a mentee survey. So we just want to have a sense of what is top of mind for all of you here, right here. Is it around climate? Is it around AI? Is it about month-end closing? Or the upcoming budget process? Right? Vince says yes. Yeah, or anything, right? Or if some of you are also seeking funding to do your valuation, what is top of mind? Okay, it's coming up. Yeah. Yes, Tim Murray is here. It's quite.
Look at that, profitability right in the middle. A room full of finance execs right there.
Cash flow? Mm-hmm.
ESG, sustainability. Cash flow is right in the middle.
Yeah.
So what's the top three? The bigger it is, the more
sustainability
is coming up, right? Cash flow, profitability, sustainability.
Budget. Look at Vince, he's smiling.
Go on.
Cool.
So hang on, delete on. Who put 47562067? Come on, who did that? I know we're all accountants, but come on, help us out here a bit.
Yeah, wow.
Is it your budget number?
Yeah.
Or your PBT or EBITDA? Good, so I think we have a good sense. Yeah,
Easy
cash flow,
implementation.
profitability, sustainability. It's quite interesting. Sustainability is quite big in this chart. Yeah, so things are a little bit changing. So good. And I think when things are so uncertain and things are changing so quickly every single day, I just wanted to share this quote with you. Right, you can't use an old map to explore a new world. I'm not sure if anyone still remember, or any one of you old enough to have used such a street directory before. Yeah, you don't give your age away, okay? So I saw this, actually I took a photo of this because I was cleaning up my cupboard and I saw this. So in the past, when I go overseas or I drive in Singapore, anywhere I go, my wife is my vehicle commander. So for those in the army, you know vehicle commander is someone sitting there. And basically my wife is the commander of the whole house, but in the car she's the vehicle commander. I will say this is the destination, and she will then flip through many pages and trying to piece them all together, just like you do your spreadsheet these days, right? You try to cross-reference everything. And, well, we still get to our destination. It was okay, and we have a lot of bonding while I'm driving. But these days, who does that anymore, right? You don't have this anymore. You just use your GPS. You put your destination, it gives you 3 routes. You choose the one that has got the least jam, and you go. And as you drive, there might be traffic jam, there might be accident, and things will happen, and they will reroute you, and you have a new way to get to the same destination. So that's how it's been done today, right? But so when it comes to finance, how do we take this as an analogy, right? In the past, we might have a way to go towards a certain goal, but are there new ways to go towards the same in a faster and more efficient way? So Maurice, with 3 in 4 CFOs who are going through a finance transformation journey, right? What kind of changes are you seeing the role of CFO changes over time?
We'll start with saying good afternoon. So I am not from the UK. I live in Australia, but this accent is not Australian. So I am South African. And yeah, so I have been in professional services for a long time, a third of that 90 years that Tom mentioned. So it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. And it is quite nostalgic. I was thinking when I grew up, I was the person in the car that read the maps for my dad. And it's hard to believe, think of a world where we didn't have GPS. And I would say, certainly I agree with my phone makes life a lot easier. So in my role, I travel a lot. And whenever I'm in a city, I use my phone to navigate to interesting sites. And I guess I could have used a map book, but it's much easier to have everything on my phone. And it is true, it's the same with finance. So the roles of finance have changed for many reasons. And even if I just go back 10 years ago, the way finance is delivered today is very different. So on the screen, I have 3 quotes which I thought will resonate with you guys. The one is by BCG. They did a survey for global executives around the world, about 750 respondents across various industries. And as you can see, they say given the continued business challenges, businesses and CFOs need to help businesses to make fast decisions to turn ambiguity into an opportunity. And it links to what Paul spoke about this morning on stage as well. Then MIT puts this quote up that says, in terms of turmoil, all eyes turn to the CFO. So sort of holding up the mirror to the organization. And in their publication, they also spoke about the fact that the CFO must also become the Chief Insights Officer. So in actual fact, for the CFOs here, you actually have another title, the CIO, right? Chief Insights Officer. And then lastly, so finance is changing because we will talk about AI and machine learning, and everybody talks about that. But the fact is our workforces are changing. And it's actually not the first time in history that work has been redefined. If you think about the pre-industrial economy, in the pre-industrial economy, we have people with craftsmanship. So they were responsible for the end-to-end delivery of a particular outcome. Then we had the Industrial Revolution. So then people said, we can use machines, and we can actually break up some of what we need to deliver to have the same outcome but faster. And then you fast forward to today. So if you look at, and that quote comes from a publication, and that was based on more than 10,000 surveys over many years. And they said, well, you augment your workforce with chatbots. You are now becoming more project-based. And obviously, AI and machine learning plays a role here. So that's just 3 reasons why finance is changing. But yes, finance is not delivered the same way as 10 years ago.
Yeah, so thanks, Maurice. And so if finance is delivering the outcome in a different way, now, and Workday has delivered more than 1,005 customers so far. And so what are the common kind of challenges that you normally hear from finance CFOs that they are facing? Can you summarize it for us?
Yes, I can. So we, as Li Tong said, we've done research, and actually Tim and I spoke to some clients over lunch about that. We work with clients across the globe in various industries, so from being in, say, higher education, FSI, to talking to one of the clients here that's building ships. And in essence, there are 6 challenges that face CFOs. And I'm not going to talk about all of them because you alluded to some of them earlier and I've spoken about it as well. But in the first instance is that one there at the bottom, rising cost and scarcity of talent. Yes, we live in a world where the great resignation is true. So in the first instance, it is about what sort of experiences do we create for our people. And it's fascinating. I have a daughter, and she's 27 years old, and I remember telling her about a fax, and she said, why would you use a fax? She doesn't even know what a fax is. An actual fact is it's worse than that. I know we're giving away our age, but there's some youngsters in this audience, Tim, but there are people that graduate today that were, I think, like 4 years old when the iPhone was released. So for them, there was not a world ever where they couldn't look at something on their phone and even buy something on their phone. I must say, I am pretty attached to my phone. It's probably sometimes more attached than my husband, but you know, it's important. So in the first instance, it's about people. And then the second thing, I've already spoken a little bit about data. It's about having an accurate source of data. People need to, given the ambiguity and given the changes and the way we need to navigate, they need to know the past, what happened. They need to know what's happening right now, and then they need to predict what's going to happen. Because as CIOs, Chief Insights Officers, and as finance, we need to enable the business to understand how to navigate. And I think it was never more prevalent than when when COVID started. I could never imagine a world where, similar to what you said, that I could work from my little office for more. Well, you know, Melbourne was the most locked down city. I'm still scarred by that, but I did work from my office in ways that I never could imagine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Maurice, what you said is just so true. You know, nowadays we can't really go without a phone, right? When I was in Paris in December and I was pickpocketed in the metro along Champs-Élysées, the first thing I check is whether my phone is there and not whether my credit card and which one is gone. And I think there's one lesson that I learned during that particular incidents. My kids, I told them, well, this is Paris. And I told them the pickpocket has not transformed because they took my credit card. They did not take my phone. And in the next stop, I basically stopped the 2 cards that were stolen. So I was digitally more savvy than them. So they have not transformed. But besides that, I think...
There's a moral to that story, right?
So beyond Li Tong.
Don't go Paris.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is that, jokes aside, nowadays with the phone, we can just do almost anything and everything. And so why is it that when we come to the office as finance person, as a CFO, finance leader, why is it that we are still doing things in a very old way? Why is it that we can't do it on a phone? Why can't we do it anytime, anywhere, on any device? Now, these are some of the kind of stories I hear from CFOs, finance directors, VP finance, over and over again. There are 3 main themes here. The first one is about disparate data. So think about it. When I was doing that role, I have a team who is dealing with the day-to-day ERP, GL. Another team dealing with the group consolidation. So we have another console software that takes data from the GL to consolidate at the summarize level. And then I have my FP&A team having another BI system to take data from the console team and make it into analysis. And there are 3 systems, 3 groups. And I always have to be the mediator because they will fight. The FP&A are business partners. They are really pro-business, and they'll say, hey, I need this particular dimension, I need this and I need that. The GL on the other side will say, that's not my problem. My chart of account is this. I have only this dimension. I have only this cost center and BU. Just use it. And the console team, that's your fight. That's not mine. I can still consolidate. I can still report. It's on my financial statement on FS. That's fine. So I always have to come in and play the mediator. And of course, when it comes to budget, it's another story. But dealing with different system, with different data means that if you find that your team spends so much time extracting data, reconciling data, put them into Excel, and then put it into PowerPoint, then I think there's a lot of improvement they can make there. That's one. Number 2 is on processes. How many times have you, if you are in an MNC, how many times have you had a challenge of, if there's a new business model, there's a new things that the business is doing, and you have to change the processes, but you can't do it, you've got to get the IT to do it, you've got to get consultant to do it. It's very common, right? Because the ERP of the past is just so rigid, and it's very difficult to change. And that is coming up over and over again. So I think rigidity is another thing. And finally, it's about very close to what Maurice has talked about, inadequate skill. As all these changes that we are seeing in terms of digital transformation and acceleration, a lot of CFOs are now finding it hard to, they are challenged by upskilling and reskilling their team to be more digitally savvy. They now need to work with data. They need to work with lots and lots of data. And now, of course, with AI and machine learning, how to deal with them, right? So all these are some of the challenges that they're facing. And with that, right, I'm going to play you a story here. It's one of our customers in Hong Kong, MGM, Macau. So who gambles here? Who likes to go casino? No explorer here. Okay, so they are a customer of ours more than 10 years. And so 10 years ago, they were building their second building, and they just thought that they needed a system that allows them to scale without expanding their team. They also know that as you expand and scale, you have to have a more robust way of changing your processes and updating them. And at the same time, the CFO then was insightful enough to say, okay, we have a new generation of finance professionals. We got to make sure that it is easy for them. So that's where they explored Workday and became a customer. So I'm just going to play it for you.
MGM operates 2 integrated resorts in Macau, hotel, casino, food and beverage, entertainment. Our customers come from the Asia region, primarily from mainland China, but we have a significant amount of our customers coming from Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, and even locals in Macau. MGM's culture focuses on innovation and excellence and delivering results on the plans that we put forward. At the time we started our journey in evaluating our solution for the future, MGM operated a single hotel in Macau. We had plans to develop and open our second property in the coming years, and we knew that our existing finance structure was not scalable. We needed a change from a business process standpoint. A cloud-based solution was definitely needed, and we needed to find ways to streamline and automate processes that allow us to service and support multiple locations without expanding our pool of labor resources. So we had the HCM product for a number of years prior to evaluating the finance modules. And in the end, we decided that the benefits of having the finance and HCM product in one platform was extremely compelling, and we went down that path. In the Workday Finance product, one of the features that really stood out for us was the configurability of the platform. Now, these cloud-based platforms, whatever it may be, is not going to be customizable anymore. Workday's product was incredibly configurable. We were able to streamline business processes and configure the system in a way that suited our unique business needs. There were several benefits that we realized by adopting the Workday Finance platform. One of the key benefits was the user experience. With Workday Finance now, we are able to operate operate a shared service function in a remote location without having to deal with paperwork being shuffled between various locations. We are almost entirely digitized now. Everything from receiving notes, to invoice processing, to PO and contract authorization. There is very little that is being printed anymore. All of the approvals are handled online, all of the document processes are handled online, and it's really allowed us to operate our business mobile from remote locations without having to expand our pool of labor resources. In supply chain services, Workday has allowed us to streamline the P2P process, from our user departments placing the request for goods, to our buyers placing orders, to our receiving goods. The number of steps and the amount of activity needed to handle each of these processes, Workday has streamlined by removing the manual processes involved in handling these transactions. The Workday Finance product provides our user departments the information they need to run their business, as well as the functionality our finance departments need to operate our business efficiently and effectively.
So good. Maurice, you were with Gary last week at Workday Elevate in Hong Kong.
I was.
Do you have anything to add there?
Very insightful client, and as you said, they've been using our platform for almost 10 years. And when you listen to Gary, sort of what we have on this slide to say, what do finance need to create value? So is the opposite of what you spoke about on the other slide. We need to provide insight, we need to have more adaptability as the business change, and we want to have the right team. Your own team of superheroes with the right skills, the storytelling, the analytics. And to deliver that, it goes back to you need trusted data. You need flexible processes. Because one of the clients Tim and I spoke to over lunch, they are embarking on a massive global expansion. They're going to have divestments, they're going to have acquisitions, they're going to have new businesses that they don't know about today. So, and then lastly, we want to have a modern experience. We spoke about the fact that we want the people that work on our team to have the same experience as we have with the iPhone. So I made it short because I think we've covered it well. I think it's time for us to hand over to Tim.
Yeah, Tim, so you woke up from your jet lag?
About 12 minutes ago.
Okay. So Tim, I think as part of a team who's doing the product innovation, and you heard that Maurice mention all about the agility and how to be more adaptable and all that. Tell us more about how Workday is helping our customer just innovate themselves and be ahead of the curve.
Okay, well, firstly, before I do that, it's wonderful to be back in your beautiful city. So many of you in the audience will know Workday already. I can see looking at the lanyards, the blue ones are customers if you hadn't worked it out, and the orange ones are prospective and hopefully one day customers. So I can see who I'm talking to. So some of you will know this already, but for the orange lanyards in the room, just really to super kind of summarize the value that Workday is bringing to our customers. So Workday is providing cloud-native applications for primarily two buying centers: the office of the CHRO and the ones that we're interested in this room today, the office of the CFO. So our mission is really pretty simple. We're trying to improve the business performance of our customers, and we're looking to do that by providing them with a single source of trusted data. You've heard that repetitively there. You heard the word data come up repetitively today, and that's going to continue to be the case. So what we're looking to do is to combine the native data that we own within Workday, so that finance data or the HR data, the planning data that Vince will talk about shortly. And the real magic starts to happen when you combine that kind of native Workday data with operational data, with third-party data sources, and you combine that within the core transactional system of record. That really allows finance to pivot and spend less time focusing on their transactional processing capabilities and really start to move towards what Maurice was talking about there, becoming a really strategic advisor to the rest of the business. That's really where finance is going, and I have this conversation globally, so I can certainly assure you that this is something that's going on throughout the world right now. And so not only is it just the data story, Lee Tong's talked around the agility that businesses need, so we deliver everything that we're trying to do with a very highly configurable business process framework. We heard Gary there from MGM talking about the need for your software to be as agile as your business is. And for those of you that are customers, you will know this. For those of you that are not customers, you really need to start to look under the hood of the software that you're considering, really start to understand what it is that's making Workday different, because you will find a very tangible difference between what we're delivering for our customers and compared to what our competition does. And then the final piece is exactly what Maurice talked about there. It's providing a modern experience that will support the next generation of finance professionals. You know, we've got, 88 years of experience over there and 2 years here or something like that across the agenda. But it really is important. So I don't lead finance teams anymore. I now lead teams of technology professionals. But it wasn't very long ago that I was leading finance teams. And I will tell you that the things that I did in my career and the things that many of you will have done in your career, reconciling bank accounts, doing balance sheet certifications, posting journal entries, they're all the reasons I can stand here or sit here today and talk to you. But I'll tell you now that next generation professionals do not want to do that. And what's worse, they see that as career limiting. Right? There's an element of learning, and there's an element of learning on the job, but they don't want to be doing that. They want to fast track and go straight to that strategic advisor. So if we did everything we did, but did not provide it in that modern experience, we were failing at our mission. So that employee experience thing, it can feel sometimes like an HR answer, but it's fundamental to the success of Workday. So that's really what we're trying to deliver to our customers.
Yeah. Thanks, team. So I think let's change gear a little bit, right? Certainly, we heard so much about AI and machine learning this morning. Let's perhaps do an experiment and ask ChatGPT a question. I'm going to show you a bit of a recorded video, but initially I asked ChatGPT, is ChatGPT going to replace the accountants? But Marie says, let's not be so negative. So I changed the question a little bit here. For those who can't see it, it says, how can CFO leverage on AI machine learning to augment into finance function? So it's working with AI machine learning. And I told it 5 bullet points, not more than 5. And it says, it comes out with 5.
But maybe a question quickly for the audience.
Yeah.
How many here are using ChatGPT? Just as a show of hands.
Yeah.
Those with their hands up, are you using it in a finance context, or is your business using it? So one or two in the finance context. I will tell you now, from a product strategy perspective at Workday, we're obsessing about it. So from the product capability, we spend a lot of our time really thinking about what can this do, what is the potential that this can do, what are the use cases that this can do, how is this beneficial to the finance professional, and obviously in the room next door, they'll be doing the same thing from the CHRO. So this technology is pervasive, it's everywhere. It's already in machine learning in general, is already in your business, and it's going to impact every part of your business. We recognize at Workday that just that kind of the extent to which machine learning and artificial intelligence in general will reach into your business can be somewhat anxiety-inducing. Okay, a lot of people are sitting there thinking, you heard Lee Tong's question that he wasn't allowed to ask, which was, will accountants be out of a job? But we recognise that at Workday. We recognise that there's a fear of the unknown, and so it's really important for us at Workday as we consider ChatGPT, but also machine learning, as an AI in general, that it's trustworthy, a really fundamental point. So to that point at Workday, we've actually set up an internal governance program. So we have a machine learning trust program at Workday that really governs the usage that we as a product development team are kind of bringing in through potential. Really trying to make sure that it's working ethically, that we're eliminating bias in the algorithms that we're generating and stuff. So very important that you as consumers of Workday's technology understand the importance that we place around trust on this. To that point, we have a loud voice in our industry. So we are active participants in the development of the public standards globally around the ethical development of machine learning. And fundamentally, it's really important that we deliver our customers with the competitive advantage that machine learning and AI will bring, but that we do so in alignment with our core values. So yes, there is a degree of anxiety in some people we speak to. There's a kind of recognition that this thing is everywhere. We were having a lot of fun behind the scenes with telling ChatGPT to do some weird things and stuff like that. So I do encourage all of you to explore it, but be very clear that we are going to do this in an ethical basis for the value of all of our customers and their stakeholders.
Absolutely. Very true. Thanks, team. And how does so this morning, Paul talked about lots of companies, lots of people using AI, machine learning to do all sorts of stuff. Some are good, some are not really that good. So, Tim, how does Workday do it differently from other solutions?
Yeah, again, really good question. A lot of finance people don't really understand machine learning, right? We're accountants. We know debits and credits. We know numbers really well. And once you start getting under the hood of the technology of your software providers, it can become quite confusing. So there's just a couple of kind of central points that are really fundamental to the way that Workday delivers machine learning, which we believe to be unrivaled in our industry. And it gives us a real competitive advantage in this particular space. The first and probably the most important thing that you need to understand around machine learning is the learning part. When I speak to finance professionals globally, they tend to get very interested and very excited around the technology part. They want to understand the algorithms and how the algorithms work, but fundamentally they're missing the most important part of all of this, which is the learning element. And the learning element is utterly dependent upon the data. So at Workday, as you heard from Paul this morning, we have a phenomenal and an unrivaled data set. So all of our customers being on the same kind of multi-tenant cloud version of Workday, they have a single code line, they have the single version, they have the single data model and data structure. So really what that means is, you know, the 60 million users, and this slide you can see is out of date, we're already up to 600 billion transactions now. So a very, very vast data set. So that's the first thing that Workday has that's different. The second thing is fundamental to our approach in that we believe that machine learning should just be part of the everyday part of doing business. This should not be a bolt-on. This should not be something that you have to buy extra. This is just the way business will work and operations will be processed in the future. So really fundamental kind of difference that we're able to do that because we have all of our customers operating on that same version of Workday. What we also have in the background, because of that underlying architecture that we have some engineering or some product development advantages as well, because what we're actually doing is we're fundamentally using the training of algorithms, the way that data comes into Workday, the way that it's been applied to the individual use cases. It means we can take our development approach and apply it to either HCM use cases, like Skills Cloud you heard Paul talk about this morning, or to finance use cases. So the thing I really want you to understand, machine learning are prediction machines. You train an algorithm, you feed with trained data, and you predict, the algorithm will start, or the computer will start to predict things. Once it starts to predict things in Workday, you can then use that prediction to change business processes, to route things for approval differently, to suggest accounting entries. So again, our platform with that huge data set can be trained on multiple different use cases across HR and finance. And in the last piece, the last kind of real differentiation for Workday is around this federated learning. So Workday, again, it comes back to that core data core. One version of the software, huge data set to train on it. So the way that this works is we train our algorithms centrally, and then we apply those algorithms to your individual data sets. So the actual usage that you as customers get is dictated and trained by your data, held natively on your in the data centers that you operate, so that you can benefit, all customers benefit from the generation of this machine learning features, but they're applied into your data sets and therefore can meet all of the various different regulations that are required. So really full fundamental differences, and all of that comes back to the fact that Workday designed from first principles to deliver the applications for finance and HR in the cloud natively, rather than evolved over time and bolted on. So real fundamental differences. And I really encourage the finance professionals in the room to start to understand machine learning and where that's going and why Workday is advantageous in this regard.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So if we were to make it more practical, what does all this mean to the finance professional here? What are the benefits that they can look forward to?
Yeah, the benefits are you'll spend less time doing the transactional stuff you don't like doing and more time doing the cool stuff that adds much more value to the business. So that's the quick answer. But just to call out kind of a couple of examples here. As we think about the benefit to the office of the CFO, we recognize that all customers are at a different level of maturity. So different companies will go at different speeds. But there's one kind of fundamental principle to our designs is that Workday should be simple, or these machine learning features should be simple to understand, they should be intuitive, and they should be seamless throughout your transactional processing set. Think about when you use machine learning in websites like Amazon, for example, or whoever you buy things from. When you buy one thing, the computer suggests to you what else you might want to buy as well. You have not been trained how to do that. No one's shown you how to do that. You can just immediately understand what it is that you're being presented, and that's the kind of that consumer-led approach is what we're trying to get to. So there's 4 kind of areas that we've really called out that we'll touch upon here. The first is around eliminating inefficiencies. So the volume of data that you will be asked to manage is simply incomprehensible for humans to get their hands around, particularly when your competition in many cases will already start to use machine learning, your competition's in your business. So you really need to have an understanding of the data and the insights in that data. And again, we talked earlier about Skills Cloud on the HR side. So really starting to use that machine learning to derive skills ontologies that can be used to apply it into your business. That will save time. So we'll start to do things like automatically reviewing transactions as they're coded. Live and in production today, we have a feature that we refer to as Journal Insights, and you can see it demonstrated outside. So this is looking at the coding of individual transactions as they're posted, and if we consider, or if the algorithm considers them to be potentially anomalous based upon the value or the account code string that's been used, it will route that transaction for onward approval from a controller. So again, trying to make sure entries are corrected at source, not posted, and then accountants go through month end and have to try and make those changes. Managing risk is fundamental to everything we're doing. So again, very vast data sets, it's really difficult for humans to understand that risk, and we want to be moving away from the place where entries get posted and then retrospectively checked. So with something, an application that a feature that we've delivered called Expense Protect. So for those of you that have employee expense reimbursements, what this feature does is it looks at every transaction that's being submitted by all of your employees, and it looks at a combination of factors like the employee, their HCM record, if they're an HCM customer, the job title, the type of expense, the value of the expense, and it provides a real-time risk score to every single transaction, and where that risk is above the threshold, which can be, the tolerances can be set by customers, that can then be used to route to an expense order to roll before the transaction processed. And finally, it's around planning, and I know Vince will talk about this shortly, about looking to predict outcomes, okay? We've spoken a lot about the transformation of the CFO role, of the finance exec role, away from being someone who kind of keeps score and does the accounting and reports on value, to being someone who wants to generate and drive value in an organization. So again, there's no better way to do that, to guide the business, than by understanding what's happening and by telling them where the business is likely to go by using these kind of technologies. So just 4 very tangible use cases there, Little.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. And to translate it into some real use cases. So on the screen here, you will see that Workday has been working on this for the last decade or so, and we have a lot of use cases here. So I think in terms of going forward with such established use cases that we have seen here on the screen, what's next for?
Yeah, there's a few good things that are coming. So some of these are ChatGPT dependent, some of these are not. So things like, just looking down the list on the right-hand side there. So contract metadata extraction. We see that as one of the most obvious ChatGPT examples. The ability to use generative AI to actually read contracts and then start to suggest accounting entries off the back of them. So those of you that have got customer contracts where there might be some kind of RPI index linked to the value of the revenue off the back of that, that's quite difficult for people to go in manually and keep track of. So wherever words exist, finance tend to have a problem. Finance are good with numbers. They often struggle with words because the words don't live within the finance system. So starting to use that capability there is something that's going to be interesting. Starting to use machine learning capabilities to change business processes. Now that sounds a little bit strange, but what we're talking about there is the ability to understand who needs to approve a transaction, who should review a transaction. It will obviously follow a business process anyway, but at some point in time, particularly large volume supplier invoices may want to be routed automatically. And again, all of that can be done by setting up rules. The problem with setting up rules is rules require maintenance and things change and the rules need to be updated. The whole value of machine learning is that it will change as your business changes and it'll act in there automatically. And then things like flux analysis. So again, starting to use that kind of generative context to explain the business variances, actuals against budget, year over year, really looking into those vast data sets and starting to explore. So there's dozens of others we could talk around, but they're going to be looking at recommendations. We're going to be simplifying transaction processes, and we're really we have this phrase internally of hyper-automation. So anything that can be automated, we're looking to automate to the extent that's possible, but again, keep that human in the loop to make sure that transactions are processed in an effective manner and done ethically.
Yeah. And so integrity is one of our core values with Workday, and we have recently been named as the honoree of the World's Most Ethical Company Award for 3rd year in a row, thanks to our effort in the ESG area. So to close off this whole AI discussion, just want to circle back to Workday's commitment on the trustworthy artificial intelligence. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, I will do. So, fundamentally, Workday takes, as I said at the start, Workday takes our approach to machine learning incredibly seriously, and we are absolutely hyper-focused on making sure that we are developing these features and this capability in an ethical format. So it's critical that we will continue to have strong control over our engineering process to make sure that we are developing these features and delivering these features in an ethical manner. We will continue and unashamedly focus on amplifying the human potential. So our goal is very clear here. We want to empower humans, and we want to empower the capabilities they have, not replace them. We want to look to use machine learning and automation for repetitive tasks, and we want to use the judgment and the insight that humans can apply to control related activities. So we don't see one or the other. We see machine learning kind of automating repetitive tasks and humans applying judgment. Really hard for machine learning to do. So that's where we see the role pivoting. We want to make sure that our features that we deliver have a positive impact, as I said at the start, a positive impact and tackle real-world problems. So this isn't cool tech for the sake of cool tech. This is really advanced technology solving real-world problems for our customers, for their employees, and for the communities that they serve. So again, so that broader picture, so not just about delivering for finance and HR, it's about delivering for business and their community. Very important point. We'll continue to be transparent. We will make sure that our customers really understand what we're doing with machine learning. They'll understand the algorithms that we have in place, and they'll understand the control we have around preventing bias. And then the final piece here is all around data privacy. So we have a long-standing commitment to data privacy for our customers. That applies everywhere throughout Workday. And machine learning will be no different. We'll make sure that the access that people have to the data is controlled, and it will continue to be auditable and meet the regulations and requirements. So again, you can trust Workday to make sure that our principles for machine learning are going to continue to be very, very robust.
Yeah, so I think thanks team. I think the speed of AI and machine learning, the way it's developing, is certainly going to be, in the next 5 years, you'll see a lot of advancement in there, and it's going to have a huge impact on our line of work in a finance professional. So just to recap, using Marie's paraphrase what she said earlier on, to thrive as a CFO, you need to be more of everything with fewer resources and less time. I think this is probably everyone would agree to it. Do more with less, right? And of course, to do it, CFOs, finance have to deliver predictive insights, have doing things in more adaptable ways, and as well as building the next digital talents. So that's one. And in order to do that, you need trusted data, flexible processes, and modern experience within the solution, right? And of course, with team and machine learning is certainly able to help finance eliminate efficiencies, save time on repetitive tasks, and to drive the accuracy as well as managing risks at the same time. And finally, of course, is to have that predictive outcome that so that you can have more accurate forecasting. So with that, I'd like to thank teams and Maurice. Thank you for their time.